What's up guys, Gabriel Varga here. Today I want to take you through the worst weight cut I ever had. I want to tell you about the experience, some of the symptoms that I had from it, and how it affected me mentally and physically. I've done 40 plus fights, but this was by far the worst weight cut. Really the only one where it really sent me for a loop. Hopefully this will help somebody out there avoid the same mistakes that I made and avoid the symptoms that I had. So let's dive right into this episode. Alright guys, very often we hear about fighters, specifically MMA fighters, who have had dreadful weight cuts, but we just kind of see from the outside. Today I want to dive on the inside of what it feels like, what went wrong, what I could have done to avoid it, and how you can make sure that you are being safe in the future. So my worst weight cut, 2015 in Milan, defending my Glory title for the first time against Sergey Adamchuk. The fight was at 143 pounds. I had made this weight a number of times with Glory already. It was not a big deal making the cut, but what you end up doing very often in fight camp is making adjustments, trying to become a little bit better, trying to see if there's ways that you can cut weight easier. The previous fight, when I fought Mosa Bamrani for the Glory title and won, what I did was just a normal weight cut, something that I was always used to. I did my normal dieting, I jumped on the treadmill, I cut the weight, and I felt good, and I was feeling healthy for the fight. But the thing about getting on the treadmill is I often wondered back then, before I had experimented, how much is the jog with the sauna suit on the day before a fight for 1 hour on the treadmill? How much is this draining me? How much is this affecting my performance the next day? So after I'd won the Glory title, I went, okay, you know what? Let's try and switch things up. Let's see if I can be a better version of myself tomorrow. So instead of doing my normal weight cut where I would normally come down 5 pounds in 1 hour, we're just talking about sweating off weight, I decided, you know what? I'm gonna come down only 3 pounds. I'm gonna diet a little bit extra. So to diet a little bit extra, I just decreased my food intake. I had longer breaks between each meal. And we're going to talk about what that did to me in a little bit. But the other major difference was I went, okay, I don't want to get on the treadmill this time. I want to try and get rid of this liquid in my body. I want to sweat out without actually having to exert my body on the treadmill. So I decided to try a hot bath. Back in 2015, it was kind of new, at least it was to me, sort of coming out as a new way to cut weight, a more effective, fast way to get in that crazy hot bath. We're not talking something like a hot tub, which is maybe 103, 104 degrees Fahrenheit. We're talking getting in something like 108 to 110 that when you put your foot in is just scalding hot, and you put your foot in and you have to pull it out because it's so hot. And you do that a couple times till you get your feet in, and then you get your whole body in. You submerge as much as you can, you get in and you sweat crazy amounts of weight in 10 minutes. That's what I'd heard about. That's what I decided to try, and I had played around with it at home and gone, you know what, I can do this. This isn't as bad as I thought it would be, but the difference being I wasn't dehydrated, I wasn't hungry. So at this point where I hadn't probably had a drink of water for 12 hours and I hadn't eaten for about 12 hours, I dieted down a little bit more than usual. My walking weight was probably at about 146 pounds. I was cutting to 143. I got into this hot bath and it was the worst thing ever. I will never do a hot bath like that again. So I got in this hot bath for about 10 minutes. As soon as I got out, I put a timer on, just because I was going, you know, anything longer than 10 minutes is ridiculous. I'm gonna pass out. So I just do 10 minutes, I'll take a break, I'll get back in, cut more weight, and just go back and forth as needed until I make weight. So I did my first 10 minutes, I got out, and I was going, whoa, I feel kind of loopy. So I laid down on the floor, and I remember calling my brother going, this, like, something's wrong. I'm feeling terrible and dizzy and overheated. And I had to lay down on the floor for about 10 minutes, which is far too long because your body cools down. And in that 10 minutes, I cut a couple pounds. So I had about 1 more to go. I get back in the bath, and right away I'm going, oh, I can't, okay, 5 minutes. I'm gonna give myself 5 minutes. So I put a timer on, and I go, okay, I'm gonna wait until this goes off. 5 minutes, I'm gonna stay in here. I close my eyes, I start counting out in my head. I swear to you, I 100% thought I had been in for 5 minutes. I opened my eyes, I'm like, okay, hopefully there's not more than a minute left. I had only been in the bath for 60 seconds before I had to get out again, and I could not make weight this way. I did the 10 minutes, I got in, I did the 1, I was close to passing out. I laid on the floor. I was so out of it that when I tried to get up, like I tried to lift my head off the tile floor, it hit the ground and bounced off. And I was going, okay, I can't even get up right now. So to cut the last pound, I just ended up getting a bunch of towels wrapped around me and just stayed there probably for another half hour. And the heat that I'd already accumulated helped me sweat off that extra little bit. It was a terrible beginning to a weight cut, but I made weight. But now we're gonna go back to the additional dieting that I did and how I ended up eating less and less and spreading the meals further and further apart. So as soon as I got on the scale, I made weight. I went about eating all the food that I normally do, trying to get my energy levels back up. Within an hour, the glands right in here started to feel a little bit irritated. I didn't really know what it was. It had never happened to me before. They just started feeling a little bit swollen, a little irritated. I was feeling terrible after making weight and eating food. So I ended up going up to bed and falling asleep for 2 hours. When I woke up, after about 2 hours of laying in bed, this is not what you want to be doing at this point. You want to be eating food, every half hour, getting some more food into your body. But I was so exhausted, my body from dehydration and the weight cut was just dying. So I went that whole next 2 hours with no food. I got up and the swollen glands, I'm not kidding you, had poked out further than my jaw. I actually came down like this and then they bumped out. And they were enormous. And obviously I was freaking out. I'm looking in the mirror going, what the heck is this? I feel terrible. These glands are poofing out. I have no idea what it's doing, if it's gonna go down. Now, fortunately it did. It went down a little bit. And by about dinner, I was feeling a little bit better and they'd come down about 50%. I was able to go and get some more food. By fight time the next day, they were completely gone. But mentally, that just threw me for a loop. I was not even feeling close to great. And for the next fight, I ended up having to make adjustments. What one of my health providers was telling me is sometimes if you don't eat enough food, if you're spacing out meals far between, your body is not used to producing enough saliva. And then all of a sudden you start eating and your saliva nodes or whatever's producing it go into overdrive and they just couldn't keep up and they just imploded right through there. I don't know the exact science behind it. That's the way it was explained to me. But anyway, the solution, which has worked since then, I don't even know how many fights I've had, maybe 15. So let's say 15 out of 15 fights, it has worked perfectly. It's just making sure that I don't need to eat big meals, but I'm constantly eating the small meals. So if I were to be like, okay, I'm gonna have 2 small meals throughout the day, that's it. I personally prefer to take those meals, split them in half and eat 4 times during the day. Maybe chew some gum as well. I'm not swallowing, taking in sugar, you get sugarless gum, but just chewing away so the saliva in your body is still being produced and you're not gonna get your lymph nodes or whatever those are, those glands, exploding when you go to start eating and your body's just not used to producing that saliva. I don't know the science behind it, but it was terrible. I don't want anybody else to have that experience or make that mistake. Make sure you keep taking in food. Don't end up in a panic last minute diet where you're like, oh, I'm not eating for 48 hours. And then all of a sudden you make weight and you start just throwing food in. The results might not be great for you. I don't even know 100% if that's what caused the glands coming out, the stuff with the saliva, but since I've changed everything up, I never did that routine again. It has never happened again. Weight cuts are scary, guys. If you don't do them properly, they are very scary. I've done a whole guide to weight cutting, pretty comprehensive, that you can check out. But make no mistake, an improper weight cut is going to wreck you. And I don't want anybody to ever experience that. Make sure you talk to your coach. Make sure you talk to an expert who can really take you through the proper routine so you're not just guessing yourself. That's what I did a lot. I did a lot of guessing games, a lot of research. Do I want to run on the treadmill to cut weight? Do I want to get in a bath? Do I want to get in a sauna? How am I going to diet? How much food should I be taking in? Everything on my part was all experimental. I did it bit by bit. I did things like where all you eat for a fight week is spinach and peanut butter to make weight. Somebody told me all you can eat is spinach and peanut butter, so I did it like a fool. There are so many ways to be healthy. You just need to find the right person to guide you and not end up to the point where you have a memory of this terrible weight cut which just wrecked you. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed learning about my worst weight cut, all the things I did wrong, all the things that you might do to avoid a similar experience. If you guys enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you haven't already, get subscribed. Guys, train hard, and I'll see you back here soon for another video.